Let's talk about it.
Hello and welcome back to Thicc Radio, the award-winning podcast where we talk about gaining, fetishism, and everything plus size. I am a little Hercules, James.
And mark my words, cats will be playing in hell. Tim.
Yo, we've got some guests with us today. I don't know if my little intro was thematic enough to key us in about what's going to go down today, but we've got some big heifers with us. We have, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves. Who do we have with us today?
They call me King, but I'm still trying to figure out that. You can call me Fatzilla.
I'm a bear and a hog, so bear hog.
There we go. We have got a bear, a hog, and a Fatzilla Godzilla-like creation with us today, which means we have all spectrum of man, animal, beast creatures represented with us here on the call. Hi, fellas. Listen, are we excited? Today is the 30th anniversary of a movie that I would imagine you'll hold quite close to your fat-ridden hearts. Is that correct?
Yeah, that'd be correct.
Oh,
Mine as well. Although I have to ask, before we even start this, how many of y'all have seen the original movie with Jerry Lewis?
Nope.
Clips and pieces.
It's a very different movie. I do encourage the viewers to go and watch the original with Jerry Lewis as well, because it is funny.
And what year did this film come out, Timothy?
1963.
Okay. So, dear listener, if you haven't actually seen it, I understand why. That's perfectly fine. But no, today we're talking about the Nutty Professor. The Nutty Professor turns 30 years old today, which is absolutely mad. For obvious reasons, we're going to be including Nutty Professor 2 in any discussions here because, obvi. But listen, Nutty Professor, have you seen the Nutty Professor before?
Of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have.
You have?
Lot of times.
A lot of times. And what did you think about it, Fatzilla?
Oh boy. First while I was watching this, I was like, "Oh, it's a funny comedy," and then things in the back had kind of trickled in. But at first, I was like, "Oh, this guy is actually real talented. He can act literally the entire movie by himself." But yeah, why is he a big guy on this? What's up with that? But I enjoyed it a lot. It's the first time I ever watched it was at what was it? My grandma had got it, the VHS copy, and I think we watched that movie to death. We watch it because it was literally it's one thing. We go over her house and we watching this because she didn't have cable, so I gotta find something to do.
As you both know, I grew up in Vermont, so back again, VHSs were very popular when I was little. There was a store called Reel to Reel, and they would just let you rent 3 to 4 videos every week, like a normal video store. And my parents would just pick out 2 movies they liked, and then if me and my sister didn't go, they would just pick out 2 movies they thought we would like. And one week, my dad just came home with that, and I don't know.
And clearly, the rest is history, right?
My dad was a very interesting person. My dad let me eat a pound of bacon when I was like 8. So,
now listen, Linda. Listen, I think many of us who had gaining desires as children or teenagers would have killed for parents who were more permissive to let us eat a fucking pound of bacon, bitch. You have lived the life. God damn. Literally, a little burgeoning Sherman Klump. One might have said at once upon a time.
You could say that. You could definitely say that.
So has your guys' perception of the film changed in any recent ways, or you still, I mean, obviously, we're dancing around the fact that this film kind of births 2 fetishes at once. So, when you started watching the movie, did that click immediately, or did it take several viewings for this to kind of embed and begin to ruminate and take root and become something?
Well, for me, growing up in the 90s, I don't know what it was, especially since I was a fan of a lot of stuff like Disney movies. I watched, I don't know how many cartoons I can remember, but I noticed that a lot of certain cartoons had a theme of we're going to make the character really big or gigantic, or especially in Power Rangers case, we're just going to blow up the monster every single episode. And seeing this all, I was like, huh, why do I like this? Let's do something to me. And then being a kid that was kind of on the chubby side, I see something like this movie, and I'm like, okay, that's odd. Oh, this is different. So I'm gonna say I blame the '90s. Has it changed? No, I had perspective on this movie. It hasn't changed. Nope.
So I haven't actually seen the movie as many times as him, I'm sure. So I remember I saw it the first time. I remember I saw it my when in high school, me and my friend would always just watch older movies because that's just what we would do. So I remember I watched it then, and I do remember it hitting different, like being like, wow, okay, some of this stuff's actually kind of hot, which is why I was like, two fetishes. That hit like every fetish I had, to be honest with you. And to for this because again I hadn't seen it since I was like I don't know 16. I watched it last night and again as to see it as an adult I'm very much like wow yep that checked every effing box. It's probably like created half of my fetishes.
Rewatching it recently, it was very interesting to watch through the modern lens where you're like, oh, that's a very definitive fat suit. There are obviously a lot of fat tropes. I'm going to get into all this kind of stuff, right? But it was interesting to rewatch it as an adult and kind of be like, huh, I see the kernel of fascination that was there, and I can see how certain ideas have either matured for me, moved away from. It's very interesting to revisit like inspirations that really got you as a kid when it comes to fetish, right? To review them again as an adult, especially when you've had some time away. Very interesting stuff.
Well, and also it was what I had noted about when you and I were having that conversation was, and I think that it also is in line with perhaps an article I read somewhere where it was kind of a trope at that time for every like really successful black comedian to do a movie where he either cross-dressed or did some kind of extreme body modification. You know, like that became a thing for a little while because then when Tyler Perry came along doing Medea, it had been really like it had been very like everyone kind of expected that sort of thing at some point. So, but that was probably, I mean, I don't know if you guys agree, but I think that that was probably one of the most convincing bodysuits that I had ever seen.
Oh yeah, it was. It's like, man, he's pretty much came a totally different person. If you didn't hear his voice, listen to his voice right away.
Yeah, I fully agree. Again, watching it last night I was still kind of blown away with how real it looked.
And like, did you guys ever watch any of the behind the scenes stuff of it? Like, I remember I have seen a few here and there, like how they constructed it and how they had to like basically lay latex over a softer material so that it would move and jiggle properly. Because if the whole thing was latex, it wouldn't have moved the same way.
And they put a labor of love into that suit. And I'm still fascinated about one of the favorite scenes is the dinner scene where it's literally just two actors in that whole part.
Yeah.
Him and the kid. It's just
And
like,
the kid, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, until the next one where it's and then you
Jada
had
Pinkett Smith.
Jada Pinkett Smith in the mix.
Jada Pinkett with that little cunty bob, and she's just like, "Ooh, what? What? Sherman? Sherman?"
I always thought that haircut was odd. I was like, is this fake?
I don't think it really flattered her, if I'm being honest. I've seen her in much better hairdos than that. I thought that was kind of like they did her dirty with that bob.
Controversially, I think she looks good bald.
I think she does too.
I think she
I think
suits
she
it.
does
And listen,
too.
as a bald bitch under this hat, like I got to show up for my bald brothers and sisters. So good for her.
You know, if you honestly, if you have unless your head is like extremely irregularly shaped, I think almost anybody can pull it off. But
But now I do want to ask you, because obviously, as I was sort of inferring, and as we're kind of talking around, especially the fat suit element of it all, that's a point of contention for people these days, right? And I do get it, because I would see it as like, did anyone here have to watch The Whale?
No, but I'm genuinely curious about it. I know I shouldn't be, it's like taboo, but I'm
it
like
was really
genuinely curious
bad,
from like a
and the
TV
bodysuit was
entertainment.
terrible.
I know, but like from an entertainment point of view, I want to see it.
You just go back and listen to our episode on it. That'll give you everything you need to know about that piece of shit. My point is, like, I declined that because I'm like, well, you could have gotten a true like big heifer actor that size to perform that role. You didn't need to put the dude in the fat suit. Versus, obviously this kind of theme in a movie, you kind of have to in order to have the thin what is it? Was it Eddie Love? No, not
Buddy Love.
Buddy
To have
Love.
thin Buddy Love, yeah.
Thin Buddy Love versus the fat version of himself. Like, so I get that. But I do agree. Whatever they did with that suit was just, mm.
I don't know.
Just
That early
magical.
CGI is a little bit rough though. Like you guys are, the scene where he gets into the limo or the rental car and his lip is already expanded and
Oh,
he's
sure.
getting like his belly's growing back. And when he flips around to the camera, I don't know, the wobble in that lower lip was a bit crunchy.
Sure, sure. Um, but I am curious, like, how do you all feel about it? Like, does it make you feel a type of way, like rewatching it to be like, oh, fat suit, man, not as fun? Or does it not trigger that thought for you all?
It doesn't, because of this movie. I no lie, I used to do something called padding. If anybody knows what that is, I used
Hmm.
to stuff my shirts and sweatpants with pillows and any real soft material, and pretty much look like a marshmallow man. And so I was like, oh, if they could do something like make a fat suit, I could make my own fatter suit. So it, I would say that is not aged well. It's actually aged pretty well for me, better than what I've seen today.
I can say the same about padding. I feel like every gainer padded to start, but I I don't know if it was for my interest in entertainment, but when I found out that actors were using fat suits, I was more disappointed than I had ever been in my life. When I found out these people weren't actually fat, I was like, oh, well, you're right. My second thought was, why didn't they just cast somebody fat? Why are they even wasting their time? Like, I was so utterly disappointed that they would even do something
Yeah,
like that. I'm
give me the
not
fat
saying
suit.
the right. Like, I'm not saying the fat suit wasn't amazing. It was, but like, also just cast a bunch of fat people. I don't understand. And I didn't understand. I still don't understand. Like, 20 years later, I just don't get it. But
It's
like,
not like there's a lack of fat actors in Hollywood.
Oh, there's not.
there wasn't 20 years ago or, 30 years ago. So I don't understand. But
Who's the guy that plays like Officer Hopper on Stranger Things?
Oh, are
uh,
you talking about that one guy that everybody's always thirsting over? David
he's a
Harbour?
hot,
David
he's hot
Harbour.
though.
Look,
Thank you.
look, he is hot. He is hot. But what I will say to this is, he tells the story about how years ago, when they were doing one of the X-Men films, he auditioned for the role of the Blob, and he literally just like showed up with his shirt off, smacked his gut, and said, "I got your Blob right here for you." Apparently, the casting directors were so mortified. They were like, "How can you even show up and show your body like this? Don't you feel disgusted? We
Oh, for God's
literally
sakes.
can't hire you because we're afraid you'll die doing the
What
things
the
we're going to ask you
Yeah,
to do in this film."
they would rather hang 30 pounds of silicone off of somebody's body than just cast someone who's chubby.
Hang the fat suit that weighs something on the body of the person who's not used to that weight and they're going to struggle versus hire someone who just is fat and can clearly fucking function. But anyways, that's Hollywood being shit. So I do get again why like they'll make decisions like that. And especially when we think back to the 90s. I mean, for God's sakes, the 90s was like the zenith of like racist, fatphobic, sexist, gross, anti-gay, anti-trans. Like, did you all ever watch Ace Ventura?
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
Girl, and I rewatched it as an adult and I was like, the literal like wig reveal moment of this film is she's a man, really. And then
yeah,
everybody
no, I know.
vomits and you're
Yeah, I
like,
know.
"Oh God."
Hmm.
Like
The 90s were the era of problematic humor, unfortunately.
we take the good where it inspires some sex and we go, "Okay, the time was the time and it is that time no more."
So does anything in particular stand out for you guys when it comes to Eddie Murphy's performance? Because like I the more that I like think about the way that he acts as Sherman versus Buddy, it's like, he lowers his voice, he talks slower, he kind of presents as a bit warmer, more friendly, whereas Buddy, he's more charismatic and sexy, like anything else. And then like, obviously he's playing all of his family members. So, like, any thoughts on those particular performances?
I absolutely love it. Again, I told you guys the other day, I love the entertainment industry. So from this, seeing him play so many different actors so well, I utterly love that. And especially the transformation from Buddy to Sherman. It's you're right. Like, it's like when they're on the stage and they're like going back and forth, it's so amazingly beautiful how well he does both like transitions. I don't know. He blows my mind in the same way that like Seth MacFarlane blows my mind by playing 14 fucking characters out of one person. But like, it's just really, really speaks to the volume of like how good of an actor he is.
Yeah, to go back on what you said, yeah, like especially when what was it? The pretty much the dinner scene where he's literally mom, his brother, and his dad, and the grandma, and it's like four other different personalities you switching between like that. And I'm like, shoot. And especially when he's literally arguing with himself as the mom and the dad when the dad starts just passing gas at the table. It's like you want to get holy clean, you want to tell break. I can't break wind at the table. He's like, well, somebody's too much someone's ass.
You want to talk about clean? Now it's squeaky clean.
What do you think they do when they asshole about a car
Car
wash?
wash.
It's just a fantastic dynamic because I think any of us who encountered or came from a dysfunctional family probably sat through some kind of bullshit fucking argument of the same caliber of nonsense. You're just like, I'm just trying to eat my chicken.
This was every single like that whole scene was every time that my dad's family sat down like to play cards. It was like that was always what it turned into.
Now, I do want to ask real quick, which member of the Klump clan do y'all identify with? Who in this film would you be most willing to play?
For me, it's gonna be Sherman because
Mm.
not gonna lie, I've been big chubby kid is all my life. Also, I'm pretty tech savvy and smart on certain things, and being also shy, afraid to come out of the shell. So I'm usually standoffish, and when seen to ask things or do anything, what most people do, like Buddy Love's opposites. It would pretty much be that would be me.
I would probably say the father just because my personality has never I actually was a very small kid growing up but I wasn't shy. I was the opposite. I was very outgoing. I was loud. Everyone said I was loud. So I was very boisterous because I knew that I had to like kind of own that because it wasn't something that I don't know could control. I guess I'm still loud, but like so I guess yes, I would very much be the person who would be that level of outgoing, I think, and not be afraid to to make a move to break silence or to shift gears or
Tim, who do you think the two of us are, as if we didn't have this conversation when we were reviewing
I
this
don't know,
film
James.
days
Why
ago?
don't you tell me?
Because I would definitely say that Tim is the dad. Because I think many of y'all see Tim as this very, very calm, very zen type. But two things. One, you can't forget the man's a daddy. He's already a dad. And two, he's not actually the dad, he's grandma.
Fuck you.
Because you old, bitch.
Just because I'm old, that's the only reason I always end up with these.
These grandmas. No,
Because this is a mold.
genuinely, you are the dad. You are the dad because the way he and Mama Klump bicker is very much how you and I tend to argue about things. Now, I want to ask you all, because as we know that there are many gainer kinks that manifest in this film. Tim alluded to two major ones, which of course are gaining and macro. But the amount of gas that gets passed, I would say expectoration kink perhaps is also something that features somewhat in this film, with burping and things of such nature. But I'd like to ask you, like, when you reflect back, like, what are the elements that stand out to you the most, and what are the scenes that really just hit the mark for you all?
Well, of course, the hospital scene where he's pretty much after the date gone bad, he's watched TV and then dozes off about that dream of him expanding in the hospital and then pretty much terrorizing half the city. Well, half the city, and then laying waste to it while the gas is blowing and someone lights a match and then there's a mushroom cloud. And my only thing about that scene was like, oh, I wish it was longer. But it, well, my whole thing with that one is how at first I was like, oh, okay, that's odd. Everything's expanded. But when I was little, it always bothered me. I was like, wait a minute, what happened to the guy on the glass? He's just gone now? Is he like
He sort of gets absorbed into the fat is what it looks like.
yeah,
It
and I
just
was
sort
like,
of
oh boy.
encloses around him and suddenly it reforms
And as you'll say this, Bearhog had the audacity to just lean right back, let that belly out, and give it a jiggle. And I was like, okay, live demonstration here on the podcast. Thank you so much. Once again, we'd like to encourage people. The video version of this is visible on our Patreon, where you can subscribe to see the fat-bellied antics of our gorgeous, gorgeous guests. So, run us our change, bitch. Look at this. Well, I say look at this. You can't if you're not subscribed. You must subscribe. This is fabulous. Oh my goodness. Listen, the thought of being like pressed up against the glass as both of y'all's fat guts just like rub up against me, there are worse ways to go. You know, I could live with that. Well, I'd die. But for the time I was alive, I could live
I
with
may
that.
or may not have included an element like that in a gainer macro fiction that I may or may not have written.
Now, I do want to ask because, as we were saying, there are obviously many, 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 many films where there's some kind of weight gain transformation. And what's interesting is that, again, we talked about this with the 90s of it all. This appears quite a lot in TV shows and movies, both. So, kind of no matter where you turn, there was some kind of element of that. And as we've spoken to people over the years, yeah, there's some common threads of inspirations. This is one of them. But a lot of people will point to all sorts of like random little inspirations, TV show episodes that nobody's ever heard of, where they were like, yeah, that was the first time and it just stuck with me for life. So I'd like to probe for the pair of y'all, what is it about transformation scenes, especially weight, that you think really impacts on people?
I would say it's got to be the changing of the size. It's like seeing somebody that was maybe you wouldn't think be say someone who's short and now they're all gigantic or size, or you just see them go from tiny size and it's just expanding, it's just keep going and it's look like it's not stopping. And it's like, oh, I think I might need to get out the way. Or I think it also comes back to one thing. I'm gonna say this. This is another thing that's probably helped with a lot of folks, but even though this movie didn't come out in the 90s, Alice in Wonderland with the whole, I don't know, you get the cookie that says eat me. What does she do? What happens when she eats the cookie? Oh, she becomes a giant. Or when she drinks the potion, she gets small. And throughout that whole movie, it's just a recurring theme of up now, up now. And my childish brain, I was like, huh, what if she was fat? What would that be like? Anyways.
You're not the only one that wondered that.
I think for me, I think people are too afraid to admit it. And like I think our society won't let us admit it, but I think people are a lot more interested in fat than our society will allow us to express. And I think that's why, like, all the things that we watched when we were, kids were all written by people our age that were writing out their fetishes, that had the ability that had the outlet to like do all these things. Like there's the episode of Rocko's Modern Life that'll never leave my mind. I think that was the original question, is like things that'll never leave your mind. But like, there was like the several Looney Tunes cartoons. I think one of them was like a Hanna-Barbera cartoon. I've seen everything, but like, so, and the Alice in Wonderland stuff, if we want to go like, back to the 90s, since that's what we're talking about, it's like there was so many, like, there's even like an episode of the Rugrats, I think. Like there's just so many different fetishy things that were dropped in like different points. I mean, I think even SpongeBob had one. Like it was just there and it was presented in so many different cartoons. It was hard to not absorb that, I think, in different ways. And not to like teeter off, but like the damage is done. Like speaking of SpongeBob, like that episode that got pulled, like where SpongeBob and Patrick raised the shell because the moms didn't like it or whatever, like the damage was fucking done. Like the kids saw the episode and they already made their determination. You can pull the episode all you want. So it's like the same thing with all those other things. We saw those episodes. Like I think that episode of Rocko's Modern Life got pulled too, because I never saw it again. But
You can find it on YouTube.
probably. But yeah, like that's what I mean. Like the damage was done. Like I couldn't stop thinking about that episode after the fact. Watching, dude, every time it would come on TV, I would be the first one there because I would die to see that episode again.
For me, it was it was a Garfield and Friends. There was an episode where he had a nightmare that he ate too much and he outgrew the house. And it was specifically the scene where John was saying, like, you better stop eating, Garfield. You're getting bigger and bigger. And like that, it lives rent free in my brain.
Ooh. I remember Hey Arnold. There was, and I forget the character's name, but he was a bit of the bully, and he was always a bit chunky anyways. And they send him away for some reason on like a cruise, which was meant to be like
Uh-huh.
something to do with weight loss, but he comes back even bigger. And I remember again as a child just being like, where do I go on this cruise? When do I get to go on the cruise? I want to go on the cruise. I want to go today. Can I go, please, right now? But you're right. These things absolutely they do. They stay with you, and they just they just root in there. And it's funny thinking about like again, life as an adult doing the gaining journey. I'm not thinking about fantasy now, not nearly as much because I'm living the reality of like, well, this is what it means to eat food every day, to jiggle my own belly, to, pleasure myself and do all of those things. And yet, we bring up this conversation of like, oh, do you remember? And baby, it's like a sleeper cell agent from Russia. Like I was raised in the Kremlin, bitch. Like you fucking give me the code word. That scene, it just comes right to the
Yeah, it
mind.
does. It really gives you a snapshot of exactly where you were at the time, when it happened, what age you were. You can probably remember what room in the house you were in, what you were wearing at the time.
Yeah,
Like
it's a
it,
full. And do you know what's really interesting? When you think about all of the things in life, like I try to remember back to childhood now, and I'm like, girl, there are just gaps. Because of course there are, because you can't remember everything. It all just gets like stuck in deep storage. And yet those are some real happy memories to bring to the fore. Because I've said this before, those arousals weren't necessarily sexual. Because like I'm 7, 8 years old. Like this is pre-puberty, bitch. Like I could not have been horny at that point. And yet something in my brain connected with that as a positive thing and it stuck there. And this is one of the main reasons why I'm like, it cannot be just like this bad fetish thing that some people in the world like to try to paint it to be because it's been with me my whole life. And it's a
Mhm.
positive thing in my spirit, in my soul to revisit. So this is another reason why I think we like these little like 30 anniversaries. Anniversary of a movie, of a moment, because like, oh, this is fun.
This is also a Disney movie, but The Little Mermaid, and the part I'm talking about is when Ursula becomes gigantic, and
Oh
that's a
yeah.
octopus woman become a voluptuous octopus woman becoming literally a sea giant, and it just tear. And I'm like, oh, that's actually beautiful. I like that. I like everything about that.
Oh, the way she lays back and she goes, Flotsam Jetsam, look at me,
Yes.
wasting away to practically nothing. Oh, absolutely phenomenal. Um, So, I'm gonna ask maybe a bit of an obvious question here. So, when we were very young, we watched these films. Do you think that you could trace these films as being perhaps some of the main instigators for yours gaining journeys?
Yes, couple of them.
Yeah, like I was saying, very much so. Everything I look, my parents told me I wasn't going to be able to watch cartoons my whole life, like repeatedly when I was a child. And then again, all the cartoons now were written by people who are my effing age, which is why we all have so many cartoons. But yes, I think that all the early cartoons defined like all of my fetishes. I think seeing them for the first time and then seeing them displayed in so many different ways like just I think that opened the door and then made me more curious every time I saw it.
this is actually bringing back a memory of another one out of nowhere. It was a episode of Chippendale's Rescue Rangers. It was where Dale found like a piece of meteorite that could turn him into like make him really stretchy, like a Mr. Fantastic sort of situation. And
I remember that.
a thief
Yeah.
found the other part of the meteorite and gave him the same powers. And there was a scene where he wants to steal this huge statue, so he deflates himself into like paper thin, goes under the statue, and then inflates himself to steal it, so like
Yeah.
there's that whole trope as
Yeah.
well, and there was a lot of that in the
Oh,
90s.
okay. Sorry, I now have to deviate because we were talking Disney and we're talking about rubber inflation stuff. Unfortunately, this reminds me of a Tumblr thread I stumbled upon where they were like, people always think like, oh, Elastigirl, because the whole parents' bodies change. Like Mr. Fantastic got or whatever got like fat. Sorry, Mr. Incredible got fat, and she got like them childbearing hips. She's elastic. She doesn't have to have those childbearing hips. She has them because she wants them. First of all, and then someone said, "What must have been like for her giving birth? She probably fully just stretched out her vagina, and the doctor walked in, grabbed the child, and walked back out again."
What's the
He's got a
difference?
fucking point though.
He
The
Like,
only
does. It's
woman
got a
who can
point.
like actively have childbirth with no problems. Like
also, as an elastic person, you'd never be constipated. You could literally just like rework your elastic self and just like everything comes out, baby.
Mm.
dang.
But
Damn.
also similarly, when it
You could
comes to
feel
gaining,
yourself.
you could open your mouth wider, consume food whole, stretch your stomach.
Well, you could perform actual vor if you were an elastic
You
person.
could perform actual vor, bitch.
And there it is.
Okay, okay, come on now, Mrs. Incredible. She's pretty incredible, that Mrs. Incredible. God damn it. Okay. Anyways, back to.
What were we talking about before this?
Why do you think this film in particular remains so frequently discussed when we talk about the body transformations? And obviously, we talked about things like the fat suit was just really fucking good, right? But, like, what else is it about these movies in particular that you think makes them the standard when people talk about, like, weight gain, transformation, the macro? What is it about them that stands out?
The rapidness of it, I think. I think that makes it real. As I guess, I don't know. It really is draw like, gaining's a really long-term thing, or at least to get to, certain sizes. So like to just blow up really fast or to like get really, really huge, like gigantically, like really fast, it just feels, I don't know, satisfying in a lot of ways.
I'm gonna say it comes back to the sci-fi part of it is they created a drug that gets you pretty much thin or age you backwards. And it's the instant gratification of, hey, if I take this, this will happen to me. And I was like, yeah, let's like reverse that. And now you're balloon size temporarily, or someone skinny.
I think sometimes it's also a little bit about like the fact that it's taboo. Like there's so many things that are wrapped up in this, right? So like there's the humiliation aspect of someone growing out of control and they're destroying things around them and they don't mean to and they're very embarrassed by it, but they can't stop what's happening to them. And then there's the uh like obviously the gaining and growth kinks mixed up in there. But oh God, there was one other one that I was going to mention and I've lost my train of thought
The
with it.
gas?
No, not necessarily that. But like, oh, the fact that the taboo nature of it, like you have no control over it. It might be happening in
Mm.
public. If you're into naked giants, which because there seems to be this division between like guys who want their giants clothed and guys who want their giants naked. But
Riff?
But like if you're into the naked variety, then like, your clothes would be tearing off in public and there'd be the humiliation aspect of that. And so I think it's just like this kind of conflagration of wider fetishes like under the umbrella that have come together like to sort of, and I think also because this film actually blends two of them, which doesn't often happen. There's not a lot of representation for fat macro out there.
Really not.
Yeah, you're correct. There is it. I remember when first discovering this, just going on the line, I was like, oh, let's see what I can find. And barely finding like slim to nothing out there. If anything, unless you get somebody to make it for you. But then
Yeah.
that's another can of worms. And it's like, oh, I gotta pay you.
Well, you know what's interesting is Eddie Murphy is also he's done a lot of other roles, but years later he did Norbit, where he kind of revisits the whole being a character in a fat suit where like her size is the quintessential element about her. And it's very comedic, getting squished into things or, I show them how to a fat bitch go down a slide, like there are some, I think, very humorous moments in relation to that. But I mean, what's the meme that came out of Phineas and Ferb? It's like if I had a nickel for every time it happened, I had to have two nickels, which is not a lot, but it's kind of weird that it happened twice. Like it happened twice for Eddie Murphy, right? Like what do you think draws him to this kind of a character?
Think he has a low key kind of a fat fetish. It doesn't want to tell nobody or can't really express it unless he makes movies about it.
Fair. I think everybody in entertainment has fetishes, and that's literally their outlet. But which is partially why maybe I like the entertainment industry so much. But I think since you bring up Norbert, like I think that's when you were talking about like I think like body transformation. I guess maybe not so much that, but I think that's more or less the level of like obesity that I would like. is like that, like just that lifestyle, the way that she lives it, like that's very satisfying to me. Like I really like that she's very much herself, and the size just like is it all.
I have a more cynical point of view on it. I
Go
think it
for
was
it.
a cash grab. Because the Nutty Professor was extremely popular. The Nutty Professor 2 was not as popular as the first one, and he had a string of like movies that didn't do well. And then I kind of think he was trying to recapture lightning in a bottle when he did Norbit. Because again, he wanted to play many different characters. In fact, he did Yellowface in Orbit. Like that's something that no one ever talks about is the fact that he did Yellowface, but it was something that was acceptable for the film, and
Oh
that film
yeah.
has gone down now as like this sort of cult comedy. But yeah, I think it was a cash grab, honestly, because I remember I was watching something else, and I wish to God that I could remember what it was, but it was one of those shows where everything is cynical, and they were going through this movie theater, and there were all these really cynical movie posters of things like crappy action film, blah 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 blah, and then it just said Eddie Murphy in a fat suit coming this spring, and I was like,
Well,
see, you do it twice, you become a trope.
Can I pose a question?
no, no, of course you can. Please go for it.
So you guys heard a little bit about my dad. So my dad would have been like, if my mom wasn't around, like my parents were divorced or something, I'd probably be immobile. My dad is probably like, both my parents are very hands off, but like, I don't know what it is. My dad, like, when it came to food when I was a kid, my dad was just like, yeah, sure, whatever. Like, I was like, Dad, can I just have a whole meatloaf? He'd be like, yeah, sure. And starts making it. Like, I ate a whole cake, I think when I was 5 that my sister made. I threw up for hours, but like I ate an entire fucking cake, and it was just like stuff like that. Like
But also, you said your dad cooks, right?
he does cook. So my question is, do you guys have a parent that is I don't want to say an enabler because I don't think my dad is like aware of it, but like hands off, too loose,
Well,
too free, let you do too many things.
we've talked about family members that show affection through food
Mm.
in many episodes at this point. But I mean, like when I was growing up, no, because they were on a tight budget and they were raising 3 children. But uh, but now that I'm an adult, yeah, every time I go over there, she's trying to feed me.
I would say, well, my mom she's the big cook in the house. She cooks for everybody, and especially when the family comes over, it's big meals, and we tend to eat a lot. But besides, I wouldn't say hands off. She'll know. She'll pretty much say, "Okay, I think you've had enough for right now." But then when I go see her or anything like that, especially between her or my grandmother, it's like, "Have you eaten yet?" No. I haven't eaten yet. No, I haven't eaten. Okay, go ahead and eat. And then when I'm getting ready to go, here's 3 plates for you. Because I'm like, I know how to cook, but you know what? I ain't complaining. All right, come on. Especially when it's mom's cooking, because everybody loves my mom's cooking, so we already know it's gonna be fire. So, and I have to fight my uncle, my brother, other uncle, because they will walk out there with several other places. They're big eaters, so not just be looking like, you say something for the rest of us, right?
Well, listen, y'all. On a day like this, when we are celebrating the 30th anniversary of the Nutty Professor, two big fat heifers making me hungry feels like the correct way to end this episode. So I just want to say thank you to the pair of you. Oh my God. Oh my God. I'm not even going to bother describing what I'm seeing because if you haven't paid up by now to see these two absolutely enormous men just showing everything, then you are missing out. So that's it. Mm. Oh, Hercules, Hercules, Hercules. God damn, the pair of you. Anyways, thank you both so much for your time today. This was a pleasure. Where can the listeners find you online?
I am pretty much, well, I would say transitioning my name change to King Fatzilla. So you can find me on Instagram, OF, Patreon still, surprisingly. And sometimes I venture on Twitter It's only look at pictures because everything else just hell, if you know what I mean. But now also I'm on BlueSky, so across the board, everything will be eventually called kingfatzilla.
Sorry. I am BearHog on Instagram, Twitter, OnlyFans, honestly everywhere. Grommr, BlueSky, Tumblr.
Thank you both so much for your time today, but that is a wrap now here for this bonus episode of Thicc Radio. Please remember to like and subscribe, rate us 5 stars, and leave us a good review. If you liked this special episode, share it with your friends and encourage them to tune in. You can find me on Instagram and BlueSky at stannnum.
And you can find me on Instagram at thiccymouse and Grommr at Orpheus.
You can also find us on social media at Thicc Radio or visit our website at thiccradio.com.
Consider supporting the show by donating to our PayPal or by subscribing to our Patreon, where you can enjoy extra helpings and behind-the-scenes conversation with this week's guest where nothing is off the table.
And if you send us a letter to thetheccradio@gmail.com, we might just read it on the show. That's all for now, so until next time, bye, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Later, Fats.
Bye, Fats.
Let's talk about it.
Thicc Radio is an independent production.
Artwork, media design, editing, and production by James Heinze.
With original theme music by CYMK.
Great. This was fun. These are always fun.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'm pretty good.
Good.